thank you to each one of you. Thanks to each one of you for making the time. Uh, Thank you, Sanjay ji, for being on this session, the next episode of Legacy of Leadership Knowledge Series by GIA. And something about the series. So we have this series which we started in the month of January this year, and we have an episode telecasting every second or third Thursday of the month. And we are really very happy that the guest that we have today is a first generation entrepreneur, and with very in his own language, very humble beginnings, because he says he started first by getting qualification in the gems and jewelry industry, the accredited jewelry professional course from GIA. Is that right, Sanjay ji?
Yes, yes.
Right. So I think someone who at the time of believing entering the industry believed that knowledge first, business to follow. So so he did that and started in 1996 after 11 years of gathering the experience and scoring many early victories. He started another store uh, in uh, in 2007
17, sir.
2017, again in Lajpat Nagar, both the stores in Lajpat Nagar, and I visited his outlet. The philosophy of how he runs his business is oozing out of every inch of the store. Starting with the furniture of the store, of course, the merchandise, the way the staff there welcomes you, talks to you, and I am still a company person, but the way I saw them engaging with his customers, I think it was nothing short of being truly amazing. And kudos to him for reaching the level that he has reached today. And without standing between the audiences and Sanjay ji for any longer, I will request Shiv now to get started with the actual chat with Sanjay ji. Sanjay ji, thank you for being here,
Thank
and we
you.
are
Thank
all
you for
ears.
inviting.
We are all ears.
Well, thank you so much, Apurva sir, for that lovely introduction. And might I say, it's a privilege and an honor to be here interacting with you, sir. And I'm quite sure already that the takeaway for the audiences will be just fabulous. So, um, let's start with your journey, sir. So, um, we've gone through your profile, we've read about you, that there is an incredible 30 plus years of experience in the gems and jewelry industry. I'm curious to know what factors influenced your decision to pursue a career in this industry, and also just a follow-up question to that is, was there a particular life event which kind of shaped your decision to work in this industry? ऐसे कोई was there a mode in your life, the Hindi wala mode?
So, honestly, initially, I was just trying to do something worthwhile with my life. I was a backbencher, a fun-loving person, a non-serious person, and then I was looking for a career, a field, uh, looking for an adventure in life. And I had a close friend. So this is a story. I had a close friend who advised me uh, about this profession, told me uh, to pursue this, and gave me some insight. And then he also encouraged me to do gemology as a starting point, which I think I was lucky that I listened to him, and I studied gemology, did a lot of other courses. And once I was doing all those courses, after about a year or so, then I realized that this was my calling. And I wanted to prove to myself and, basically to the world that I could make a success of something which I start. And these days it's fashionable to uh, there is a word coined which is a startup. I was a startup of the 90s, and we didn't have that word at that time. But yes, it's been a beautiful adventurous ride, and God's been kind, and here I am.
Wow. Very interesting. I'm sure the ride must have been an amazing one. Like you said, definitely would have been a lot. There would have been ups and downs.
Correct.
Uh, so as you look back, there would have been these valuable lessons and key takeaways that you would have gained through your journey. Uh, as a first generation entrepreneur yourself, in the gems and jewelry industry, which is traditionally a more family driven sort of a business. uh, so what do you think would be some essential advice or lessons for aspiring entrepreneurs who also want to start their entrepreneurial journey?
So, what happened by default in my case, I would recommend that for everybody else,
Mhm.
which is to gain as much theoretical and practical knowledge for the first couple of years. Those first couple of years, in my opinion, could be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Give that time, learn, do as many courses you can. Could be nowadays you have merchandising, gemology, manufacturing, sales. Learn the tricks of the trade. That once you have the technical side sound, then then you start, then you hustle, and then you do everything. You do B2B, B2C, see where your calling is, and then life will lead you. I mean, but knowledge, because in our trade the mistakes are very expensive.
Mm.
Either it's your own money or somebody else's money. You'll make more mistakes if there is no theoretical knowledge behind. So this is my opinion. That's the advice I'll give everybody.
Great, great. Um, and I'm also wanting to understand, sir, that as a business who is contending, going for the same consumer and that spend of the wallet, alongside businesses that have been established for decades. Uh, so, how does one, as a leader, in such as yourself, establish these core values that remain timeless and last for generations? And these values could just not be passed on from generation to generation, but also as a leader from yourself to a manager or individual contributors in your team. So what do you think are those core values, and how does one go establishing timelessness in those core values?
No, so when I started my business, for many many years, I was just doing these things at a subconscious level, then teaching it to my team what worked. Then just a few years back, I tried to pen them down. So
Mhm.
I'll try and share that with everybody. It helps if it helps. So for us, honesty and integrity is very important. That's not just for me; it's for everybody who works in JD Solitaire. It's something what we stand for. Then accountability. As you grow, you're basically empowering the team. With empowerment, also the person sitting on a particular seat has to be accountable. Then he has to be very hardworking. So I'm old school, where I think the more hours you put, you have more chances of success. I mean, a lot of people talk about working smart, uh, but this is something which has actually worked for me. So I feel hard work is very important. Then you
Mhm.
have to be an expert on your seat. So if it's somebody is in an accounts, handling the accounts, he has to be better than me. That's how I look at it. If somebody is in marketing, I try and make sure that the skill set is better than mine, and that's what everybody is bringing to the table to the organization. Then dependability, something which can't be taught. It has to come from within. Then discipline. I'm very I try and be disciplined myself in every way in terms of time, valuing word. So I expect the same from my team. So these are values which we try and tell our team day in day out. We talk about it and we try and follow.
Wow. Uh, wow. I mean, uh, these values that you talked about. I mean, more or less, many people in the gem and jewelry industry, especially, will relate to them. And what I also wanted to understand a little bit more, I'm just uh, asking you a little bit more on that, if you can stress upon, is that how do you ensure that these values are passed on to let's say your team members, to let's say people who are on the storefront who are dealing with customers. So is that something that you can elaborate on, sir?
Yeah. So you lead by example. That's how I, at least, because I started my business. I was alone when I started, and I built a team over time. So
Mm-hmm.
when you build a team slowly and steadily, you have to set an example. If I expect somebody to be disciplined in terms of time, I have to first be disciplined myself.
Very
If
true.
if I'm eh, everybody's like you, like they say, your children, the best teacher for your children is always their parents. In the same way, in an organization, everybody is looking up to you.
Mm.
It's just not for at every, that subconscious level, they're seeing what you're doing. Are you walking the talk? So that's what I believe in. And you
Yeah.
don't mind if I have my tea? I took your permission.
Absolutely, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely. This more then becomes like a chai pe charcha. Fabulous for that. So I think yeah, the key takeaway for the audience over here, especially who are leading teams, leading businesses, is that lead by example. I think that's the key takeaway, right, sir?
Yes.
Fantastic. Great. My next question to you stems a little bit from what we had, one of those words that we talked about a little before, which is the ups and downs. I want to talk a little bit more about the downs. So challenges are kind of inevitable when we are running a business. So I wanted to ask you if do you have some sort of a anecdote, or if you could talk a little bit more about a challenging period that you or the business saw, and how you overcame it. And I'm sure there'll be quite a lot of valuable lessons that we can also learn from those. So maybe you could take a little moment and talk us through a little bit of that experience.
So this is interesting. So in business, I feel there is always a graph. You have a growth,
Mhm.
you have a plateau, stagnation, and then either you have a negative cycle. A lot of businesses go out of business when that negative cycle, if that gets too prolonged. So in my career also, I had a plateau, stagnation, starting 2014. And at that stage, uh, being an entrepreneur, actually, for you always want to understand why something which worked earlier is not working now. And generally, for a businessman, what I've realized is that you don't change anything till it gets broken, and it doesn't make sense. Why should you do it? So you only realize when you start stagnating, when the growth stops happening, and then you do some introspection. And at that point of time, luckily for me, so for me, always knowledge has been my savior. So I started my career by first studying about it. Then my savior again was knowledge. I went back to school, and at that stage, I understood that I'm an expert in gems, but I don't know how to do business. I lack those skills of running a business, scaling a business. And then I went back to school. I kind of took a lot of help from a lot of consultants, a lot of business coaches, tried to first understand the problem. And in the process, I learned that uh, uh, the easiest thing was to sit alone with a paper and a pen and write. Just start thinking, and then I could pen down what I thought the reasons why, which were holding us back. And then when I had this long list, I started to take action on each one of them. And the new store, which we were just talking about, was also one of the things I thought was very important for the next 10 years for the company's growth. A new location, bigger store, more manpower, more team. We were very disorganized. I also realized that the big retail organized players were killing us. So what were they doing right? What we couldn't do. So on a one-to-one, I always took pride in the fact that we were better than them. But what was going wrong? So I realized that there were some best practices we were not following. So we changed that. So 2014 to 2018, we did everything. It was a 360-degree turn. Digital marketing was another challenge, another animal. Data collection, what to do with the data. So one is you collect data, but what do you do with the data? Team size was small, and all of this. So we worked on all of this, improved, and took action. And future, according to me, is for the organized retailer. So if you want to grow, you have to be organized. And like I strongly believe, Saraswati ji is the goddess of knowledge, and there's a connection between Saraswati ji and Lakshmi ji. And Lakshmi ji being the goddess of wealth, and she's not far behind if you have knowledge. So once I did all of this, and results started to come. And so answering your second part, which is what are the lessons, Uh, so lessons, in my opinion, you should talk to a lot of your seniors, experienced leaders of the industry, and they pour their heart out. If you go to a person and ask your challenges, problem, they're very helpful. I mean, this is at least my experience. I had no ego. Coming again, the advantages of being a first generation entrepreneur. I would just go up to anybody and everybody, and you'll be surprised. Everybody's so accessible, so willing to share. And then once I got to learn things, I realized, uh, once you took action on those, you'll get results. And then work on your strengths. Understand where the gaps are in the industry. Try and fill those gaps. Focus on innovation. For me, innovation helped. Work hard. Like I said, I'm old school. Work hard. Work harder than your competitor. Um, uh, Increase your odds of success. This is my philosophy of life. And focus on the customer. I mean, that I'll end it like this: that if we focus on our customer, the competition, pricing, profit, everything takes care of itself. And so this is all I think I want to share on this point. And uh, you know
There is so much to unpack from this. If I may try to maybe recap, I will be extremely apologetic if I miss out on those. But I want to kind of reiterate some of these takeaways for our audience. One is work hard, and you're quite humble about it. That and I also kind of read this quote somewhere that the harder you work, the luckier you get. So I think that's kind of worked in your favor. Uh, the other thing which you talked about, Saraswati ji and Lakshmi ji, and we all know that when you invest in knowledge, Lakshmi ji follows Saraswati ji. So that's an interesting key takeaway. You also spoke about how one needs to find their strengths, focus on that, and also deliver look at ways of delivering customer wow experiences. I think those are some key takeaways. I hope I did not miss out on any. But it's interesting how you spoke about, how you went back to the drawing board, when the business reached a certain plateau, and that kind of resulted in you exploring newer growth avenues, which probably were unexplored before, and that also led to another store for you, bigger size, bigger merchandise, more customers. So great. Now I want to come back to one of those points which we just discussed, which is focusing on the customer. And what I want to understand, sir, is that throughout all these years that you have been, working closely with customers, making sure that you're delivering these wow experiences, I'm sure there would have been many such stories from customers. However, in spite of all the care and planning that goes into, taking care of a customer, would you say that there would have been a very difficult or an irate customer that you had to deal with? And if so, how did you address that?
So, not one, many. So, and it happens all the time in retail. But, essentially the mantra which we follow and what I teach my team also is that listen to the customer, resolve the problem in the customer's favor. At times, it's not financially viable also. So that is the challenge with most of the retailers have, that, resolving a problem might cost the company a lot, so that is something which keeps them from resolving it in their favor. But even if it's not financially viable, take the hit, try and resolve it, because new customer acquisition is very expensive. This time will tell you, time will teach you. And we try and that's one of the things which has given us a decent growth year on year. So the old customers will always then keep on coming back to you. So when we talk about a wow factor, it's all about experience divided by expectations. This is a formula. So wow factor is equal to experience divided by expectation. So we have to understand that. So and it's not just work. At times we are also human. And the trick we use at work is, if I'm in a bad mood, I just move away. My other team member will take over. But generally we try and make the customer go happy.
Excellent. I'm sure the formula that you gave of delivering customer success can also be kind of termed as the formula for success in retail. Thank you so much for that, sir. And I want to move on to the next question, which is, okay, now we've talked about delivering customer experiences, like great customer experiences. I want to talk a little bit post transaction. What happens? So we all, especially in this industry, which is very, very, luxury oriented in a way, and also emotional to a large extent. We recognize that after sales service is important. Um, from your perspective, sir, how does, or when actually, does just a mere transaction with a customer transform into a meaningful relationship? And then how do you go about building that relationship into a long lasting connection?
So, I will try and explain to, maybe it helps the audience. So, when I started my business in 1996, my inventory ticket size was also small. And what I realized was that as my inventory ticket size grew, so did my customers' journey also. So what I've realized is that and now I'm talking from experience. What happens is a customer would always test you with a small purchase, and then he will uh, sort of how should I say, in his mind form an opinion about his experience, his how he evaluates your product, price, experience, everything. Then once that is good, he'll give you another chance and maybe another chance. The process is long. For me to tell you that when does that transit to a loyal customer, I have serviced customers now who've been with us for 20 years, 25 years. So we've done so many things above and beyond transactional, which I think that is why one, they'll become your loyal customer, and then they'll advocate your business. Then they'll talk about your business to other people and send you referrals. So it doesn't happen overnight. I can't really pinpoint how many purchases does it take for a customer to become a loyal customer. But yes, that experience has to be repeated a few times for sure.
That's interesting. I'm sure most of our audiences, especially who are those on the retail front, would kind of resonate with what you said, in terms of how, that there may be a particular moment when the customer has had a wow experience, and they, in their heads, in the customer's heads, they have like, okay, this is where, I'm here. I found this person who is not just giving me a wonderful buying experience, but is also taking the time to educate me. um I say that only because I remember, sir, this is not the first time that we're interacting. So somewhere back in 2018 or 19, I believe we interacted, and it was a very short interaction. And the reason why we interacted was, GI had actually organized an education seminar on for you, for select customers at your store. Um, so I also want to take this point and highlight a little more, which is on the fact that, why it's important. Why do you think it's important for gem jewelry businesses, especially those in retail, to actively spread awareness and focus on consumer education? How do you think it benefits your business in the long run?
So, talking about that particular event, it was a big hit with the customers. We just, in 2017, we moved to the new store, and I realized, um, I was doing many, many things at that time. And, for me, I learned one thing that you can, you have to first gain the customer's trust. And customer's trust is gained by knowledge. And GIA created the 4Cs. Who better than GIA to talk about the 4Cs and explain to the customer about diamonds? So it was a very interactive session. I still, for next 1-2 years, people were talking about it, asking about it. They got some free gifts also. So it was that made it even nicer for them. And so it was not about just talking about the 4Cs. We talked about the origin of diamond, the cutting process, and then the 4Cs. And that was one part of it. And then also just two more things about education, which I think is interesting. Is I've taken GIA's help in my team training also for sales. So that also helps in a very big way, because uh, we of course have a training system module in place. We have a sales process. What we teach, but GIA has some a very nice way of explaining about the 4Cs, which they in turn explain to the customer, educate the customer, and helping them make a decision. And lastly, of course, it's helped me because I've done so many courses in your NGIA, and the last one I did was about merchandising, which opened my, I understood and I took it to another level. Um, we've we are working on a TOC project, which is inventory management. Uh, at JD Solitaire, it's something very interesting in the pipeline, and you'll hear about it more in the future.
Well, we are all clued to hear more about that. Thank you so much for sharing that Wonderful feedback about the seminar that we did, the training programs that we've done. But I'm also more curious to know, as a business, how does this help, a retailer in the long run? Like, how does it help convert customers? Does it help retain customers? Is it a mix of both, or how does it work?
So, let me try and put it another way. So, you will only gain a customer's trust if you part with all the information to the customer in terms of what he or she is buying. And when I say part all the information, it could be, if it's a diamond product, essentially you're talking about what is the color he's opting for, what clarity, what certification. So when we talk about that, we're talking about grading a diamond from a third party, which takes the level of trust a notch higher. It's not about JD Solitaire talking about a particular quality. It's a third party, which is the world's leading lab, which is talking about quality. Then, like we have for gold, we have a hallmark standard. In diamonds, we have a GIA standard. So, that you wins the customer's trust, uh, helps us to convert a customer who's at the moment a prospect. And then, all the other things follow.
Oh, very interesting. Great. So I have asked you all the serious questions. Now I want to ask you a little fun, light questions. Um, because you are a gemologist, you started your journey as a gemologist. I want to ask you, sir, what is your favorite colored stone, colored gemstone, and why?
If you would have said anything but a colored stone, I would have said diamonds. But colored stones, blue sapphire. I love the color blue.
Hmm.
Its hardness is next to diamond and next to my favorite gem. But yes, blue sapphire.
Wow, interesting. Great. So we also have blue in the background, and many people in the audience who are all, most of them are, gemologists, would certainly know that on the Mohs scale that it's quite next to diamond in terms of hardness. So thank you so much for that. My last question to you, and then we will kind of check in with the audience. There are some interesting questions being posed, but I do have one last question for you. Again, to end on a very light note from my end, which is, let's say, sir, if a book were to be written about your life, what title would you choose for it and why?
Wow, that's a nice one. So, so I believe in a few things. Maybe it's not an appropriate title, but I always believe in that you should strive for perfection, and if you fail, you will settle for excellence. This is a belief. I don't know if it's a good title for a book. And then impossible also says I'm possible. These are the two things I believe in. So maybe they can be used as titles of books. I don't know. It's
Wonderful.
early days and still.
You could probably say impossible perfection.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful chatting with you. Now, let's look at some of the questions that we have from the audience.
So, sir, the first question is from Jay Soni, who says some days in our industry are hard to push around. So, what is your strategy to overcome on those particular days? Say challenges like government regulation changes, etc.
So okay, these are So Jay, these are challenges we have to live with. So it's like not all days are similar. You just have to see that out of the 26 days we work in a month, how many days we make a success out of. And lots of things will pull us down. What you're saying is right. Government regulations changing, uh, market scenarios changing, customer irritated, angry customers. But yes, we still have to, as I think, um, to succeed, one has to be a good salesman, and forget about your defeats fast and move on.
Great. That's wonderful insight. Um, on I think this is more, the next question is more like an extension of the earlier one, that what were the big players doing which you were not, and what did you start doing, if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah. So I mean, so when I say organized retail, I was not referring to the size of operation. I was referring to even a small store. If like at the moment, I can say with pride that we have systems and processes in place which can compete or even beat the best in the market at the moment. So when I say that, we start with, I'll try and go step by step. We start with customer experience, which for a single store owner is something, if we go drill deep down, it's our strength, it's our core strength. A brand will never have a consistency of a same salesman attending to a same customer. That keeps on changing. There is something which inherently we have a advantage. Then uh, you know uh, we don't have a process of having a correct assortment of inventory. When I was trying to explain about TOC, it's about inventory management at a great depth, where you have the right assortment of inventory at the right time in the right quantity, which actually is good for the customer and good for the business. Because for the business, it helps me increase my ROI. From a customer's perspective, it says good freshness. When you go into a store, you always see is new inventory. Like a Zara, you go to, you would always see, go there once, go there after 2 months, you'll see new inventory. That's what drives the sales. So that would be one thing. Then, a consistency in buyback policies. There should be very clear, transparent buyback policies. Then, most importantly, the big brands take pride in the fact that they offer quality products. So it's something which we should all try to do. If we say something, it should be that. That's why diamond certification is very important for jewelry, very important for solitaires. Gold hallmarking is very important. And then, if there is a certain order timeline, what you're promising to a customer, you have to abide by that. All these things then, add up to a customer's experience, which is why he would come back. And that is what we improved. We started to monitor all of these things, and we have a very high percentage of done uh, on-time performance, and so all of these things.
Great. So, the transparency, trust, timelines, all of these leading to the customer experience. Wonderful. The three T's. Great. The next question that's coming from Devansh. Did I miss on mentioning that the earlier question was from Ashna Kedia? This one is from Devansh Narula. What opportunities can I avail after doing the diamond grading course in New Delhi?
So, okay, so
He
and
has
you
to come for a
started doing the
career.
diamond grading course. So I mean, first and foremost, I didn't get his name. Sorry, can you just tell me his name, please?
It's Devansh. Devansh.
Devansh. Right. So Devansh, actually, just one course is not good enough to start a business. Uh, I don't know exactly. We've not talked what your aspirations are, but there could be two things. One, if you're looking out for a job, or if you want to start your own business. But if you want to start your own business, then one course is not enough. You need to know a lot more about uh, every aspect of uh, diamonds, colored stones, gemology, uh, jewelry business. Then maybe have a hands-on practical experience at some factory if you want to get into manufacturing, some retail outlet if you want to get into retail. Though, like I said, mentioned in the question answers, that you'll have to give that good 3 to 5 years. That should be a time where earning money should not be the objective. learning should be the objective. And once you feel the confidence of doing something on your own, then you can always start. One thing I can assure you that, uh, and I'm actually a living proof that capital is not something which holds you back, which is a fallacy in our industry, that if you don't have capital, you can't do jewelry gems business. But I'm a living example. I started from zero, and God's been very kind. And I just you just have to do it. It's not overnight. It takes time, but capital shouldn't scare you.
Very insightful, sir. I'm sure there's a lot of learning here. So maybe a variation of an old saying that jack of all trades but master of one, eventually, not none. But yeah, something like this is what probably Devan should look at. The next question is from Shraddha Patel. Are you observing shifts in buying trends among the newer generation with changing times? And is there a notable increase in the preference for laboratory grown diamonds? I would like to know your perspective on this matter.
So I'll answer your second question first. So I this is my thought. I might be proven wrong tomorrow, but I'll talk a little bit about lab-grown diamonds. My opinion. So yesterday, this was something very. I was, I got this video yesterday where a jeweler in America started to offer a free lab-grown diamond with a 1 carat natural diamond purchase. So this is how I feel lab grown. That's how lab grown market will go, in my opinion. Anything which is mass produced loses value. And in the last about 5-7 years, we've seen the lab grown market prices dip to about 70%. In the West, now there is a difference between the Indian market and the West. In the West, jewelry is never bought as an investment. Jewelry is always bought for other reasons, and when that happens, people lapped up the concept of green diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, much faster than India. But how long will it last? I don't know. In India, it is gaining some traction because it's something new, a new kid on the block. But I think if at all it exists, and coexist like other categories. Like I also sell silver jewelry in my store. There is one floor of so it'll coexist. It'll be another category. And I have this saying. I'll share this with you, which is very interesting. A lab-grown diamond may sparkle today, but its owner will always dream of a day they can afford the real thing. So this is my belief.
Very interesting, sir. Yeah, one of the school of thoughts on the lab grown diamonds. True, very true.
And what was the
Sanjay,
first question? Now I've got too much. What was the first
Yes.
question? First part was.
So, are you observing shifts in buying trends among the newer generation with changing
Okay.
times?
So this is something which I can going forward, which every retailer has to understand. You can't do everything. You have to figure out what you want to be good at and stick to that. At least in the initial 10 years of doing your business, till you know till maybe you feel the requirement to add more categories, but you can't do everything. So um, uh, if I was to just do smaller ticket size articles and focus on the new generation, which already some people in the uh, e-commerce space are doing it very well. So I mean, a lot of the success stories in the e-commerce space are for the generation X, the younger generation. So I think if you're talking about e-commerce, yes, explore that. The market is there and changing also, because India is a big country. But if you say you want a standalone store where you can do this, I don't think so yet.
Right. So as they say, change is the only constant that we should expect in the anywhere, including our industry. Great. Now, the next question is from Vijay Parmar. He mentions that your website mentions a 2.5% guaranteed appreciation on diamonds per year.
Yeah.
However, how do you ensure that 2.5% is guaranteed when the market has been declining for past 2-3 years?
So, this is a trick. So I will explain. So what happened? We guarantee that, and I'll tell you why we do that. So I actually studied historical data. I've done research on this. If you The diamond prices over the last 30 years have increased by about 3%. That's the number which is in there in at a lot of places. Unfortunately, now we have to think from a customer's perspective. What is a customer thinking when he comes to your shop? When he comes to a shop, his biggest problem is that he doesn't know what the value of the product will be after 5 years when he comes back to you. For him, it's just that 50 cents or 1 carat or 2 carats of multiple diamond small product he's got. But the assurance is very important, which is in the bigger scheme of things, if you do your maths correctly, it works. Gold is which is a part of that particular diamond jewelry product, is very transparent. Diamond, unfortunately, we do have a Rappaport wholesale price index, but that also has so many qualities and generally more workable for larger diamonds that a smaller diamond purchaser gets confused. So my guaranteed appreciation is something which I take great pride in, and we've been following that. Tanish does it without disclosure. I mean, just to give you that piece of information also. The big brands like Tanish also do it without spelling it out.
Nice. Very, very interesting. The next question again is from Shraddha. Traveling for inspiration and visiting major jewelry exhibitions around the world. Could you elaborate on how these experiences have shaped your perspective on thought leadership and innovation in the jewelry industry?
So, it's like, let me put it like this. I was there in the Las Vegas show 2 months back. It was on my bucket list for the last 30 years. And one section which was on top of my to-do list on the Las Vegas show was they have an innovation section. So innovation section, you learn what's going to happen tomorrow. Just to give you an idea, what the way when you go to these exhibitions, what you learn is that I saw machines over there which would be there in a retail shop a few years from now, where you could do a 3D printing. Somebody, you would have a CAD CAM designer in your store, take inputs from the customer, design it, put the file, print a 3D wax piece. And then the technology is just around the corner where you can actually get a 3D gold printed product. So, all these technologies, if you don't know about it, you're in the dark. So at least you know these things are happening. Like another thing I can share with you, a couple of years back, an Indian startup started with this trial, home trial of jewelry, 3D. And now it's gone to the next level, where I saw some flaws in the technology at that time. It didn't give you a very realistic feel. Now that's been sorted. I saw a startup again from India, from a Bangalore company doing it. And it would be launched soon in some of these big brands. So this is about innovation in the technology front. And then in the design front, these people, for diamonds, America is the biggest market. And so, they are trendsetters, so to speak. So anything which gets introduced in the West, then eventually comes down to in about a year or 2 years that those things get popular in India.
Absolutely. So that is how visiting the various trade shows really help. You know,
Yes.
you get to know the trends globally and also
Correct.
what's coming next. Correct. The next question is from Shailaja. She's asking, as a first generation entrepreneur, how did you build trust of your customers during the initial stages of your journey in the jewelry business?
So, you have to hustle, if I may use the word. You have to do everything. So I never waited for a customer. When I started my retail, I also simultaneously started with doing a B2B business also. So I would go to a retailer to sell. So what actually helped, it was not never about the money in the initial stages. So this is something which I would really, tell all the budding entrepreneurs, have the appetite to uh, not look at earning a lot of money initially. Look to learn, understand. So when I went to jewelers, when you try and sell something to a jeweler who's selling in a large shop, he'll tell you what's wrong with your product. That's how I kept on improving. Maybe at a very small margin, he would buy my products also. So that rotation of business started to happen. And then I used to go door to door to sell. I used to go to customers' houses to sell. I did everything. It's it takes time, but like, if I may answer you, the trust, it needs to be built over time. And I have this. I mean, maybe it helps. I don't know if it. Uh, so the first diamond set I sold, there was this. The first set of customers. Okay, this would help actually. The first set of customers you'll get would be your family and friends. This is how the circle of business grows. That's the first circle. And then when you satisfy them, they'll refer you to friends, and then your circle increases. Then business reaches a stage where you also need more unknown people to walk to the store or to you to really, be your business make your business viable. But when you're working with your friends and family, at that point of time, you're tested multiple times. I remember I didn't have inventory. I remember a time when uh, a customer, a family friends, wanted a necklace, a diamond set. And since I didn't have any product, I didn't even know how I would get the order. But somehow I just offered the customer that I'll make it, and if she likes it, she can take it. So I'll repeat this. This is very important. That it was a set at that point of time for about 2 lakhs or 3 lakh rupees, and I offered on a design from a magazine or something that I will make it, and if she doesn't like it, she can leave it. And I don't even think if I took any advance, but that order got through. And till date, as a company policy, if we take an order and the customer refuses, we return the advance. It's a company policy. So if you come to our store and if you want to order something where we don't have something in stock, we'll make it at our own risk. The only difference now is that out of experience, we understand what to make and what not to make. If something is too outlandish, then maybe we'll politely refuse. But if I'm sure that the product I'll be able to sell at my counter and make it. And that actually helps us get about 20% of our business through customer orders. So these are, these are things which are very easy to say, very difficult to do. But if you do, you will.
True. True. And yeah, so lot of keywords here: hard work, perseverance, patience, because nothing's going to happen overnight. But yeah, like you had mentioned in your video also, that the focus should not be earning money to start with. So it's the learning that really will go a long way. So very well said, sir. Next question, we have it from Ashna again, about inventory management. How to achieve the correct inventory management?
So it's taken me a very long time to understand. This this question eludes all retailers. Even big chain stores find it very difficult. But Now actually there is this, so you can, Google this. I mean, if you want to, there's a thing called theory of constraint. This is about, so theory of constraint for inventory management, and it's about, on just the surface of it, I'll try and explain to you that there is, uh, all big brands currently basically follow this to the hilt in their respective stores, where it can't be explained in 10 minutes. It's about ordering the right things, planning first. Okay, it starts with planning your inventory mix in a certain manner, then ordering the right, reordering, then having the correct assortment. Then tracking the aging of the inventory, that's critical part, where when the product is made versus how many days has it been on your shelf without it being sold. So there are lots of things.
Wonderful. Right. So you have to keep an eye on everything that's happening and, then do the various permutation combinations. Great. We have the next question from Gopal. Um, we notice the use of synthetic and simulants of color stones even with jewelry containing high quality diamonds. Isn't this contrary to what we say about laboratory grown diamonds?
So not at all, I think, because I mean, I'll tell you how, why it's there. First, let me try and answer your why it's there. It's because the customer is accepting it. That is why. And in our store, we are stocking both. Though I'm more comfortable in selling a natural emerald or a natural ruby with natural diamonds, but we definitely do stock the other option also. And the reason is that an emerald ring with a nice emerald would get the cost up substantially higher. A connoisseur of a beautiful product would understand that, but somehow someone who just likes the product because the color might say, okay, let's not take an emerald, let's take an imitation. So there is an acceptance. That's why it is there. Uh, you know, uh, Answering your thing, if there is a market for any product, the product will be there. So that goes for lab grown also. If there's a market, I might change my stance from today. After 5 years, there's a market, I might have a counter for lab grown also. But that's, it takes time. And customer is king.
Absolutely. The most important quote for all of us in the industry: customer is the king. Next question is from Kishore. Sir, what is the percentage a person should spend on marketing and client acquisition?
So, this is this $1 million question, and I'll give you a $10 million answer. I learned this. So, from an expert, you must please listen to this carefully. He said, if an entrepreneur, if you do an investment and if you get returns, would you decrease your investment, increase your investment? So okay, let me put it another way. So suppose, for example, never works as a percentage. For whatever scale your business is, you start with a certain number. For example, if you can afford 50,000 rupees, you start with the 50,000 rupees. If that 50,000 gives you a return of 60,000, it's good business sense. And if it gives you a return of 40,000, then you have to think that should I make it 40,000 or reduce it, or am I able to sustain that for brand building? Because the more the number of people, marketing agencies you talk to in jewelry business, everybody talks about branding, but you need an appetite to build a brand. So depending on what stage of your career you're in. For me, initially, there was no marketing expenditure because I relied on a good customer experience and customer referring another customer. That was the secret of growth. But in today's scenario, marketing is something you have to, you can't do without.
Absolutely. With the digital marketing, having its, I mean, it's all over the place. So in that case, you just can't say that uh, how much marketing or should we do or go in that way or no. Absolutely. Great. The next question is from Paridhi. She is asking, what do you do with the products which do not get sold after a long time? Also, what do you think is the ideal inventory turnaround time?
So for diamonds, for gold.
She hasn't really mentioned that,
Okay, no,
Paridhi. Would you?
I'll answer the question.
Uh,
So just repeat the question so I answer it correctly, please. Can you repeat?
sure, sure. What do you do with products which do not get sold after a long time? Also, what do you think is the ideal inventory turnaround time?
So
And she's
what
asking for
happens
both.
She's asking for both. Yeah.
for gold, for both. Okay, so first and foremost, when you start tracking in aging of inventory, you have to melt the inventory or return it to the vendor. These are the two options. After you think that when you uh, that is one thing, you don't keep it in stock. You remove it. That's one. So ideal. I can tell you the industry average, and then I can tell you our aspirations. Industry average for diamonds is about 1.5, and for gold is about 3. And with what we are doing, we should be at 2 in about a year's time for diamonds. And for gold, we still have very small inventory. So my gold numbers are not something to really teach anybody about anything. So, but gold industry average is 3, diamond is 1.5.
Great. That's really. I'm sure there's a lot of learning there, and there's a lot of deep understanding over there. So that's it from the questions from our alumni who are attending the session.
Just I wanted to, there were 2 questions on inventory management. Can I recommend 2 books, sir, if you don't mind,
Of
which
course,
people
Yes.
can
of
read?
course, of course.
Okay, which will be very helpful. Allow me a minute.
I think it's not
It's
focusing
done. So it's Demystifying Retail
by
by
LR
Mr. L.R.
Natarajan.
Natarajan and M. Prabhakar. So there were lots of questions. This would be something which is like, which is a life changer. And something elementary would be there's a book called Isn't It Obvious by Ellie Goldratt. Isn't it obvious? So that would be very elementary. This is deep. This is jewelry related. There's a novel on jewelry.
Sanjay ji, like Manisha said, this was really, a session that held my attention all throughout. One of the reasons why, uh, you know, during our casual chats over the last few years, and also especially some of the discussions that we had during the Jaipur Delhi cross chapter meet, something which I sensed about you is, uh, also something which you said very openly, that when you started the business, the first thing you did was probably, and you don't have that ego. So, to address people who clearly have more knowledge in the subject, you would address them or reach out to them with questions and, for their bit of knowledge. I think this is a wonderful quality which I think many of us forget to adopt on the way. And we all start wearing those what should I say, the clothes, where the ego is very difficult to shed. But I think that is one thing which is really remarkable. And anyone who's trying to make new beginnings, this humility to be ready to learn from everyone who you think knows more. And you're, the the other side of your humility is that you are saying at an open forum that you have better managers working for you. I think, that is also something which I heard for the first time. Your accountant knows accounts better than you, and your marketing person knows marketing better than you. While it may be true for many others, uh, how many would really accept it, at a platform like this? So I think it is, again, tells us so much about the attitude that one needs to have while starting a business afresh. And I think lastly, but certainly, again, as important is the resilience which you spoke about when you kind of showed in 2014 when you thought for a minute that maybe the rate of growth or other parameters that you are monitoring should be far brighter, and then you kind of picked yourself up and started working afresh in that direction. I think all these qualities uh, become very important, especially for a first generation entrepreneur. And since you have a blank slate, it is it, it's a different ball game altogether for you to create a legacy for your next the next team, whoever comes on board to receive the baton from you. So I think all the members in the audience, uh, I think these are some of the pearls of wisdom that we will go back with. And Sanjay ji, thank you so much for
No, thank you, sir.
sharing everything without any inhibition. Your frankness and that smile on your face is so endearing.